I don't miss that house, and I don't miss that neighborhood, and I don't know why. Is it too loud? Is it okay?
Feels good.
It feels good?
Feels good, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you're just done with a place.
I get it. I'm a moving motherfucker, man. Like all the time.
You do?
I don't know why. It always is like a relationship ends, something crazy happens. Is always a fucking reason.
Yeah.
But it's like every 3-4 years. I
Really?
move. Yeah.
What about all your shit?
My shit all goes. It's in store. But I just did a move I think since I last saw you.
Yeah.
I got married. No, I was already married when I last saw you.
Right.
I think.
Maybe, how long have you been married?
I've been married just over 2 years.
Yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, it would have just been right before the pandemic.
Yeah, before the pandemic. But I think the fundraiser before that,
yeah,
I met my wife at.
Right.
Yeah, I met her there. Yeah.
And what does she do?
She's a designer.
Right, like a designer of what kind? What kind of design?
Shoes, clothes.
I think, yeah, I remember.
Stuff.
Yeah, I met her the last time we did. The last one that we did was with Eddie Vedder was there.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, we were together then.
Is it second wife, third wife?
Second.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got married the first time in 1988. Wow. Shotgun wedding.
Yeah,
yeah.
88.
Full-on pregnant 19-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 24.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But you did it. You stepped up.
Yeah. No, I loved her.
Yeah.
I loved her. And we have a 33-year-old daughter who's just the most amazing human being on the planet.
She's 33 now?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And just like a ray of light, man.
Really? What does she do?
She's a photographer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and she does, lots of fashion stuff. She does her art stuff, her own things,
yeah.
But she works in fashion a lot. And she made a short film that went to Cannes or to Sundance a few years ago.
Yeah.
She's a director and a writer and just a cool person, just like a kind, considerate, smart.
Do you feel like a dad or just like a dude she knows?
A dad.
You do? That's good.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. Do you have kids?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
But I know my relationship with my parents.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Like, I don't, I know they're my parents, but they're just sort of these weirdos I grew up with.
Yeah. I mean,
had problems.
It might be like that, too, for her, and not for me.
Yeah.
But I was concerned that when she got older, she wouldn't be my little girl anymore.
Right.
But she's still my little girl.
It happens, huh?
It happens, yeah. Even though now we talk about, Louis Buñuel and, and...
Yeah.
social issues and stuff.
Yeah.
It's...
But you always had a good relationship with her all the way through?
Mm-hmm. Teenage years were a little rough.
But that's just normal. But, I mean, there was no sort of, weird, she didn't see you for years on end.
No, never.
Yeah. And you're with the mother, too? You're all right?
Yeah, no, good. Her mother's the most awesome person, became a rehab counselor.
Oh, yeah.
Is, really successful and awesome at her job in that world.
Yeah.
And is just, profoundly spiritual person.
And helping people.
Yeah, helps people.
It's interesting, the people that, because I'm sober too, you are, but there are people that, lock into it, like Bob Forrest, who are, just sober wizards.
Yeah, she worked with Bob for a while.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
At his place? Or whatever?
They worked at their own place, at a different place in Pasadena. One thing about her and is that I've lent so much money to so many people in my life, and no one has ever paid me back. Ever. Ever. I don't loan money anymore. I'll give it to someone if I have it, if I can.
Give it to them.
But I won't loan because they don't pay back and it ruins a friendship.
It does. And it's a weird thing about that because everyone tells you that if you loan somebody money, you're not going to get it back. Like if it's a friend.
Yeah. And it's just, and they might mean to, but the thing is that, I lent her, a substantial amount of money at one point, and, I know she works hard.
Yeah.
Makes a salary, not a lot of money. She gets by, her and her husband.
Yeah.
And, 10 years later, comes a knocking on the door. Hey, here's that money. I know that she cut a few hundred here,
right.
a few hundred, 50,
yeah,
and did it and paid me back, and
Well, when you're sober, you got to make that shit right, or else you got to apologize for it.
Yeah, you got to own up to your shit.
I'm sorry, you're never going to get that money back.
Yeah.
But I feel bad about it, but I want to take responsibility for my side.
Yeah.
But you're never going to fucking get your money back.
Yeah, you're fucked, but I'm sorry. But I own up to it.
Exactly. Yeah. So what? That's the only kid you have? You have other ones?
I have 2 kids. I have a 16-year-old daughter as well.
So that's a whole second shot at it. You're doing it differently? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I'm better now, I think, as a human being.
But different woman, right?
Different woman and entirely different kid with a different, worldview and a different time. They're 17 years apart. You know? But, just a beautiful kid. And,
yeah.
And, yeah.
And do you spend a lot of time with her?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's the mother of that one?
Her name is Frankie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's her mom.
Just the mom?
Yeah, I don't feel like I should.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
But you get along with her, though?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. Yeah, we do good. We do good.
So this new record, I didn't realize that you guys, you've recorded so many records with Ruben. Mm-hmm. Over and over again with that guy. Yeah.
The last one is the first one we haven't done with him since Blood Sugar in 1990.
The Getaway.
Yeah, The Getaway.
You didn't do it with him.
We did with Danger Mouse.
And how was that a different experience?
Completely different in the way, it's really a philosophical difference.
Yeah.
In that Rick, and I think what makes Rick great, outside of just an insight and a degree of objectivity that just is born of his, his state of being, is that what Rick does, and the reason that he's able to make such a varied, a wildly varied quantity of music from the early hip hop stuff he made to Slayer to Johnny Cash to Bangles to Us to Tom Petty to spiritual hippie music, all this stuff, is that he doesn't have a thing. It's not here's my Rick Rubin sound, and I'm Phil Spector, and this is what it sounds like, and this is me. He sees what the essence is of the thing that he loves. He has to love it, or he doesn't do it.
Right.
He sees what that thing is, and then does his best to help you bring that thing out.
Well, I think that his thing is some sort of naturalism. I think his thing is to not get in the way, because there's a lot of stuff, especially with the stripped down stuff he does with the older artist set, where you're this is just, it's almost like jazz production, where you're not putting anything on it. You're just letting the guys be in a room.
Yeah, let him be in a room.
Yeah.
His thing, is particularly with us, is he was the first person that let us do that. Mm-hmm. And it was our fifth record, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, that we made with him. And every time we had been into the studio before, we'd tense up. It would be okay, now it's the studio and it's serious, and there's this big huge board and all these blinking lights and knobs. And
but you had done work. You'd worked with George Clinton before that, right?
George was different. George, we were just high. We didn't know. I was whoa, look at the knobs. I mean, it was really fun. But
what was that? Up with Mofo Party Plan?
No, that was Freaky Styley with George, and that was a fantastic experience. But different. It was less organized, but.
Did you learn any tricks from George?
Yeah. More like little things he would say.
Yeah.
Little things he would say, he'd have someone come in to arrange the horns from Fred Wesley, right? The great Fred Wesley from the JBs. And he'd be Fred came in the night before to do a horn arrangement. He goes, don't give him too much time. As soon as he starts thinking, he's going to start doing all these incredible orchestrations. But first thought, best thought, that's what funk is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trusting your gut and just letting that flow.
Yeah.
And I know his gut is beautiful. So just let him do the first thing that he hears, write it down, boom, record that shit tomorrow.
Right.
Things like that, and him saying, talking about playing live, he was how when they first blew up, when they had the Mothership come out in the mid-'70s, and it was they had been playing for years and years, touring on playing clubs, playing theaters, doing whatever they could, and all of a sudden they're playing these big arenas and they blew up. And he was I always told everyone, just don't be intimidated by the front of the stuff that you see. Play to the last person in the last row. Open yourself up and think like that, and let that energy flow.
Yeah, I need more of that in my life. Because you focus on the front row, you're going to see the one guy that's looking shitty, and you're going to be oh, fuck. Are we fucking up?
Yeah.
And you're literally playing for this one dude that you think you're disappointing in front of, 15,000 people.
Yeah. Well, I always have this thing where I think about the one person I'm there, they were playing in Minneapolis at First Avenue, and they said, Prince is coming tonight.
Yeah.
And the whole show, all I could think about is Prince is going to like this bass line. Yeah. Or, I messed up. Prince is going to be, he's going to think I'm an unfunky white boy. I'm just all these thoughts. I don't even know if he came. I have no idea. But many times with certain people, like much less.
Who'd you get nervous around? I talked to Bootsy. It was on Zoom, and the mic was kind of in and out, and he's wearing his hat and his glasses on Zoom, and I'm like, no one's gonna see this, bro.
Yeah, he's Bootsy. He's Bootsy. I was talking to Chris Rock the other day, and he was saying how he once worked with James Brown on an episode of Miami Vice. Yeah. And that James Brown showed up, and it was like, 7 a.m. call for Miami Voice, whatever. Showed up in the morning, like completely gig ready, like in a full body pantsuit, like glittery, thing, his hair done, like everything to get in Miami Vice wardrobe and do whatever he was going to do.
But that was his morning outfit.
It just, it's like
he's James Brown.
He's James Brown, and Bootsy's Bootsy, and you know what I mean? It's like a legacy that they take seriously.
But like outside of Bootsy and the couple other producers, I mean, it's like all Rick Rubin stuff, man.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry to go on such a tangent, but the difference between Rick and someone like Danger Mouse is Rick takes the artist, wants to make them bring out the thing that they do the best that they can be, and hopefully help them arrange the songs where the essence of the song, which the thing that's magic about it, shines. Yeah. As opposed to burying it in the outro, or like we might do, like, oh, that's a cool part, we save it for the end. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever it is. Whereas Danger Mouse is more of a guy, like, he has a sound. Yeah. All his records sound like Danger Mouse. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And you wanted that.
We were to try something different, and with the lineup that he had at the time with Josh and
Klinghoffer.
It was Josh Klinghoffer. Yeah, and Josh and Brian Danger Mouse were close and had worked together a lot before, and it just seemed like a fun way to go about it.
So what's it like being with Frusciante back?
It's so beautiful, man. It's so beautiful. Yeah. It was, it was difficult to make that transition, to let go of Josh, who is not only a great musician, but is like an incredibly supportive,
good guy,
bandmate, a good dude, a dude that shows up and he'll you've heard a rehearsal tape, and he'll drive across town in the middle of the night to bring it to you because he wants you to hear that idea, like just a caring, supportive, all in dude. Yeah. But John, he was just born to do this, man. Yeah. He was born to do it, and
to be a Chili Pepper.
Yes, to be the guitar player in the Chili Peppers, just like the way that he functions in relationship to the rest of us, it makes we're all so different than one another, but it makes every one of us be ourselves as much as we can be, and every part is taken care of. And it's difficult too, because we're all different, and we see things differently, and we argue, and because we all bring something completely different to the table.
And it's so heavy because musically you're a trio.
In that way,
and so. Right, just instrumentally, I mean, Anthony sings, but I mean, that's, everyone's got to really show up for work.
Yeah, and show up and be a fucking hero. Yeah. You know what I mean? And John's man, he's intense. He's an unbelievably, virtuosic musician, as well as has an encyclopedic knowledge of music. Because since he was a little boy, if he liked somebody, say he liked, the Germs, or liked Yngwie Malmsteen or Steve Vai, whoever it is, he didn't just like that person and learn every single note they ever played in their lives. Yeah. He found out who they liked and found all those people, learned every note they ever played in their lives and who they liked, and goes all the way back in history.
Really?
He's a studier, man. He is a serious, diligent dude, and everything that he gets into, whether it's electronic music or it's classical music or it's rock guitar playing or whatever it is he just studies, man. He's focused, and he has the ability to do it for 10 hours.
Right, but then, but in his playing, he's he lets it happen. He doesn't seem like he's insecure or acting like anybody else, really. He seems pretty laid back in his groove.
Well, absolutely. And I think he's really come to a place too where he doesn't need it all in any way to prove the power. It's like the thing of Monk playing one note and you feel that he can play 10 million notes. Yeah. It's like John is so comfortable in himself as a musician that he doesn't need to prove it. It's all there. Yeah. His approach to this record, and he did so much on this record, the guitar playing, all these synths and orchestrations and ideas, all the background vocals, but it comes from a really humble place. He just wants to serve the music in the most beautiful way, and he can just play this simple liquid thing that he doesn't need to show all the things that he knows.
Yeah. I mean, the first album that I ever got of yours, it's weird because, like, and I hear that with John. I mean, I understand how you guys all fit, but the first record I ever got when I was working in a coffee shop, I guess it was I don't even know when that came out, but it was Uplift Mofo Party Plan.
Okay, well, that's with Hillel.
Right, I know. And the thing about, like, Hillel is, like, that band that you guys were at that time, that seemed to set the standard, didn't it?
Like, in terms of, like, templates of who we were?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, from the beginning, we had tapped into a thing that we loved just from our reference points growing up.
Right.
And it was from, like, music that was exciting us at the time, contemporary music like hip-hop and we really loved, English post-punk. We really loved, like, the No New York kind of New York thing that was happening at the time. And the funk bands like the Contortions and the Lounge Lizards and Defunct and, all of that stuff that had this, like, beautiful thing of, like, jazz and funk and R&B and hip-hop with this real noisy, dissonant, and punk rock and all of P-funk, like everything that we loved. And it's really like Hillel and Jack grew up loving Kiss and Aerosmith and classic rock. I grew up hating that stuff. I grew up loving Louis Armstrong and John Coltrane and Miles Davis and Dizzy Gillespie.
Because you had it in the house?
Yeah. I grew up, my stepdad was a jazz musician, and that was what I was around,
Yeah.
And that was from when I was a little kid, and I saw my stepdad play in the living room with his jazz buddies in New York. I was just, like, rolling on the floor in hysterics in a state of ecstasy at what was happening. And it seemed
How
like...
old were you then?
7?
Where were you born?
I was born in Australia.
But you're not Australian, are you?
Well, I left when I was 4.
Do you have can you still live
Yeah,
there?
I still have an Australian passport. Yeah.
You do? You just keep it up to date?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, when you might have to go.
Yeah, dude.
You got that in the back burner.
Back burner. I'm out ski.
Yeah. So do you ever go back there, though?
I do whenever I can. My father, I have a lot of family there who I don't know that well because I didn't grow up with them. Yeah, like a whole slew of, aunts and uncles and cousins and nephews and nieces.
What's the real name?
My name? My name is Michael Peter Balzery.
Balzery.
B-A-L-Z as in zebra, A-R-Y.
And it's a Hungarian name?
It is a Hungarian name, but whenever I go to Hungary, like we'll go play Budapest.
Yeah.
I always, like, I'll ask them and I'll be like, no. But I think, immigration, they had, like, their version in Australia of, like, Ellis Island, where the name would just get fucked up in the transit.
So you think it got...
I think it did, yeah. But my dad, I don't know my family tree well, but my dad tracked it down to a little village in Hungary on this side.
Yeah.
And he just knows that when they came from Ireland and Hungary to Australia, because the potato family...
Your mom's from Ireland?
No, well, my dad's family is from Ireland and Hungary, came to Australia, and my mom's family is from the north of England, from Yorkshire.
So you have a good relationship with your old man?
Yeah, really good. It's difficult when, because he left when I was really young, when I was about 7, and he left and went back to Australia, and my mom remarried a jazz musician guy.
Wow.
Who's my stepdad, who is the guy that I was around.
And that set that reconfigured the brain.
Totally reconfigured the brain, like in a way that my father worked for the Australian government. We had come from Australia to New York because he had a 4-year assignment at the Australian consulate. Yeah. He was a straight up and down suit, briefcase to work every day on the subway, came home. We lived in the suburbs, dinner at 7.
That was it.
Set the table, no, like real straight. And then my mom, was getting a wild hair, man. She came from provincial Australia, where that would have been the dream. Your dad had a suit thing, and cocktail parties, everything was solid. Yeah. And then she met, she started, took off for, I think it was the not Woodstock, but some jazz festival. What's the one they had up in upstate New York where Duke Ellington did the famous... Newport Jazz Festival, saw Miles, all that. Came back in a dashiki. And
she went to New York on her own?
We went with my dad and my mom, and we all went together. My dad, but then my mom started branching out. And anyway, my parents split up. Yeah. My mom took off with a jazz musician. My dad went back to Australia without us, brokenhearted, as kids and wife, gone. My mom left him. And, but so then we moved from my dad in this suburban house, real straight, to a heroin addict jazz musician who lived in his parents' basement. We went there. Yeah,
wow. And that was it.
And that was at the point where it was like, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, see, I'm going out in the street. I'll be home at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
The next day it was like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just not the greatest parenting skills.
But I'm so grateful for that too. Like, yes.
Well, you survived.
I survived, one. Two, I found myself on my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. But to also be inspired by that sort of like where creativity and addiction are the priorities.
Yeah.
that's the whole life.
Yeah.
Right? That, as negative as that sounds, there's a freedom to it. It's selfish, but it enabled you to sort of figure out who you were.
I had to figure it out on my own because no one was doing it for me. And in ways...
And you got a sister too, right?
I have an older sister as well. Yeah. She's an awesome person.
I met her. I met her at the
great.
At the benefit.
Oh, great!
A couple times. Yeah,
great.
We sat at the same table.
Oh, cool.
She's a character.
Yeah, she's a character. Absolute character. Was she drinking?
A little. She became more of a character as the night went on.
I love my sister.
So you're doing that. You're just out in the street. You're 8 years old.
Yeah, and we moved to L.A. when I turned 11 for his music career.
And did he have one?
Very minimal. It was like
what was
well, he was a jazz musician.
He
just wanted to play jazz. He played bass, upright bass player.
So it really made an impact.
Yeah, no, intensely, and I think often how much I approach music like he did, and like in terms of my strengths and my weaknesses,
like what
and stuff like that.
How?
Like I'm not that great of a soloist, and I'm really working on it right now. Actually, I want to get better.
You're pretty good, though.
No, thank you. I mean, I do my best.
Where are the insecurities? I mean, how do you define being a solo?
I hear like Thundercat solo or Mono Neon or Jocko or the great soloists.
Yeah.
And I never learned those patterns, those ways in around all those chord changes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't do it. Like, I was more like when they were like studying and learning all those cerebral parts of music, I was like in a van sleeping on, people's floors.
And you were playing
Motel 6s playing punk rock gigs.
Exactly. But you were the rhythm section, so
yes.
your sensibility was different.
But I can groove like no one's business.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my stepdad was like that. Like, when I look back, it's only recently dawned on me, but I remember watching him play, and he played with really great jazz guys in New York, and I'd see him play, and he'd be like playing those fast bebop bass lines,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going for a fucking long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Serious, man. Hard as a bottomless pit of monster fucking groove.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even believe it. And I was so in awe. But even as a little kid, I knew, and then everyone would solo over the changes, right? They play the head, then all the jazz guys take the solos, you know?
Yeah.
And then
I love the way jazz guys stand around while the other guy's playing.
Yeah,
wait. Kind of smoke a cigarette, wait it out.
Go off, get a drink, hit on this, whatever.
Yeah.
Read a book, anything.
Yeah.
But when it would come his time to solo, he would keep that ferocity, but it would just kind of like, I'd see him kind of seize up.
Choke, yeah.
Like, it wasn't like he'd choke, it just his approach was just like, he'd be like, bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was cool, but, and I realized I kind of do the same thing.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
You think it's an insecurity?
Maybe. I think part of it is, like, I've noticed that of myself. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not that good at that, and I'll like, once I was playing with Ornette Coleman for a little bit.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And there was one.
How old was he when you were playing with him?
Towards the end of his life. I played with him a few times over the last, 8-9 years of his life.
That must have been challenging. I mean, he's out there.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah?
It was an incredibly
What
great
kind of freedom does that give you to play with Ornette Coleman? What's the responsibility of the bass player in that situation? Was it a trio?
No, it was a pretty big band. He had two bass players, 2 drummers.
Okay.
One drummer, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Electric bass and upright bass.
How do you approach that, though? What are you thinking when you're playing with Ornette?
Well, the thing is, when I got ready to play with him, his son, Donardo, who's kind of the band leader, who plays drums with him, Donardo sent me all these songs to learn. And, I know Ornette music, but for months, I was learning these complicated pieces of music. And I got there, and Ornette was like just play whatever you want, whatever you feel at any time.
But you were prepared.
Yeah, but just looking at him and him telling me that, I never felt so free in my life. You know what I mean? And playing it, like I was really happy with the way I played. Like I felt so free and so good and on top of my game, and I was really connecting with the dudes.
Yeah.
We played with the master musicians of Jujuka and Salif Keita and Patti Smith, and it was this all these people. It was just so fun. And, you know, real like really uplifting experience. But then towards the end of his life, right before he died, he had a show at Central Park in New York, and I went and played, and he didn't actually play. Well, I didn't play with him. I'm not sure if he got up and played or not.
Yeah.
But it was with his band and his son, and we were practicing, and all these guys, great free jazz guys, were playing solos, really great shows. Yeah. And then Donardo was like, pointing to me, go. Man, I just seized up. Started playing like shit. Like I just got scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's so, you know, it's a part of my musicianship that I'm working on developing.
So, but what's the process of that? You're just learning the runs?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just trying to just like, I'm just soloing. Like last night I was playing, or the night before I was playing, soloing over What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. Like just playing, you know,
just
like playing through
doing
stuff.
the thing that you did when you were a kid. You put the record on and you
make up melodies, you know.
But initially, so your approach, like once you guys moved to, well, what was the situation in the house? How alcoholic and crazy was it?
Very much so. Terrifying, you know, as a kid.
Yeah.
He, you know, was extremely violent. He would bash up the whole house and smash it to smithereens.
Oh my God.
He would just lose it. The cops would come.
Oh my God. So you're in bed, you don't know what's going to happen ever.
Don't know. Yeah, like I used to sleep in the backyard and stuff because I just didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, is he going to lose it tonight? It seems a little testy.
Did he beat you up?
No, he didn't.
Oh, so he didn't. He abused the house?
He never did that. He
Not
actually.
the people?
Yeah. I think that, you know, or himself, or I don't know if he ever hit my mom or not. I'm not really sure. I feel like it's not really my place to talk about that stuff and other people. But it was scary. And then he got sober.
He did.
You know, he got sober. Yeah, he got sober.
And stayed sober.
Yeah. Well, he got sober
when you got to L.A. or when?
No, years and years after that. We moved to L.A. in '72. He got sober in like 1980.
Were you part of that?
Yeah, I would go, like, they made me go to Alateen.
So
I would go to, I got, like, kind of roped into it, and I would go, like, and bring him his cake when he had his year
When
thing.
did you start using?
I started getting high when I was 11.
Yeah. Weed?
Yeah. Weed at first, yeah. Weed and then acid.
That was when you got here? You were in L.A. already?
Yeah.
So you moved to L.A. from New York, and your stepdad's here for work.
Yeah.
And
for like a fresh start kind of thing. Yeah. You know, it's like when you're a drug addict, there's always a fresh start somewhere. But
you know a guy out in California who's going to get you the gig.
Yeah.
And did he integrate into the scene out here or what?
He did somewhat. Yeah. You know, I mean,
it's a tough scene, man. It's a small scene, right?
And
at that time,
I think, and for jazz at that time as well. You know, I think that. For people like him...
Was it like 72?
Yeah, 72 we came to L.A. November 14th, 1972. And I think for jazz musicians at that time who grew up, you know, like in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, like admiring the jazz bebop greats. You know what I mean? Like just like in studying and learning this extremely sophisticated music, you know, and then come like the 70s, no one gave a shit, man. You know what I mean?
Things
it was
were shifting. They barely gave a shit then, but it had a lot more tension.
It had tension, and it also had like...
Well, people paid attention to it.
Yeah, tension and attention.
Yes.
And it was like a rich bohemian culture that really loved it. Come to the 70s, it was like...
Yeah.
You know, unless for a very select few, it was really hard to make any kind of a living. And
also fusion came.
Fusion came, and like many like him, they really like kind of became bitter.
Yeah.
You know, like angry at you know, the rock musicians who they see these guys who couldn't play at all, who are making billions of dollars.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they
didn't they get bitter about fusion too?
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know. I can't remember him beating, but it was definitely looked down their nose at everything except their thing to their detriment. Because their thing is the guys who were really great, who embraced everything, had a chance of really reaching out and touching. Yeah. But like, and you know, he was like many, substance abuse problem, you know, jazz musician who no one, you know, and he's doing like, you know, Holiday Inn lounges, and remember he got like the Princess Cruises gig, you know, playing for the Ink Spots. He was playing with the version of the Ink Spots.
That must have just... I can't imagine that gig, like those kind of gigs, I see it in comedy or any kind of art form, like you have to rationalize that. How do you not stay bitter?
Yeah. The thing is, he was happy to get work. Okay. You know what I mean? Because like he worked fixed cars in the backyard. My mom worked as a legal secretary.
Car guy, huh?
Yeah, he knew how to fix cars. You know, he was mechanical.
So now you're in L.A. Are you running the streets?
Like wild.
Yeah.
From when I got to L.A.
Smoking weed, doing acid at 11?
Smoking weed. Yeah, I don't think I first did acid till I was 15 with Anthony, when I met Anthony.
Yeah? How's he doing?
Oh, he's good, man.
Okay.
He's good. He's like, you know, real focused on our thing right now.
Yeah.
You know, we made this double record and we're psyched, you know.
I know the record is great. It sounds like a little bit of everything you all do for like it feels like a career record.
Thank you.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, we've done all this stuff and we can do all this stuff, and this is the evolution of all this stuff.
Yeah, it's just for us feeling like we just got into a room and we're ourselves at the best that we could be.
Right.
Encouraging one another. Just the best that we are. Like, that's us. I can't say, like, put this record out. I can't say, well, you know, we did good at this, but we kind of like, no, this is as good as we are.
Yeah,
you know, we recorded it live in a room, live to tape. You know,
you did?
Yeah, we record live to tape. You know, we overdub and stuff afterwards, of course. But
is that the Rubin way, or did you do all your records like that? I mean,
it's Rubin's very good with it.
Yeah,
but he also knows it's more convenient and easier to do stuff on computers in a lot of ways, and sending files around and whatnot. Yeah. But man, we like that sound. John is very into the way things sounds, and has like his ears, like, you know how like a dog can hear someone whistling a mile away.
So you guys are in your own little areas in the studio playing live together?
Yeah, well, we're all in the room together.
Right.
We just baffled off the amps in rooms
or
whatever,
right.
isolation booths.
Yeah.
And we're all in the room together jamming.
That's great.
And try to leave room for a lot of improvisation, and it's just the feeling that we aspire to.
And that stuck? The improvisation stuck? You can hear them on the record?
Oh, yeah, always.
Oh, that's great.
Always with us. So the last record had the least of it ever. Because we did with Danger Mouse, we looped drums, overdubbed on top, tried doing it a different way. Right. And, you know, it has its positive things. There's nothing wrong with making music like that. It's just different.
When did the music start really becoming a part of your life? Was it when you were 15? When you were what did you start with?
No,
I read some stuff. I know some things, but I'd rather you tell me.
Well, when I first heard my stepdad play jazz when I was a little kid, I was deeply moved. I was taught, okay, here's a magic that exists that is up and beyond anything I've ever seen in my life.
Jazz.
It
is kind of like that, because it's weird, because I listen to it and I'm trying to, over the last 5 or 6 years, I've gotten into it. As best I can. I don't know everybody, but it is something that if you have an ear for it and you do connect with it, it just continues to evolve with you.
Yeah.
Like the same record. You listen, I can listen to, the Miles,
Kind of Blue?
No. The one with Herbie, the first one
in a silent way.
In a silent way. Like, I can listen to that fucking over and over again and just be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, dude. This morning, I listened to Kind of Blue. I was doing my morning exercise. I listened to Kind of Blue. And I've listened to that album probably more than any album in my whole life. It's like my comfort record.
Right.
And I just got this new pressing of it. There's these guys that make these real high-fidelity pressings. They got old master tapes, single-step mastering. I can't remember what it's called. It's like OHRU or something.
Oh, yeah. I know those guys.
They make these real high-quality pressings. It's not all. Sometimes I like the old ones. Maybe just because it's easier. I'm used to listening to it the old way. But I put it on this morning, and I was just like in awe. And I've listened to this record 1,000 times. I know every note.
Yeah.
And I was just like sitting there, like, doing my sit-ups and shit, and just like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Like Bill Evans, his piano playing.
I just started getting really into him, man.
Dude.
So what the fuck is that?
What the fuck, And his relationship with Miles, I think, is really beautiful. And his liner notes, just his liner notes you ever read his liner notes on Kinda Blue?
Yeah.
Yeah, like he likens that kind of improvisation to those Japanese painters who paint on that really delicate rice paper.
Yeah.
And if you make one mistake, the whole thing, that's it. It's done.
He learned a lot from Miles. Yeah,
Miles, man. So...
Did you ever meet that guy?
I never did meet Miles, no.
Because I just bought a bunch of Bill Evans. I lock in and I just start getting the Bill Evans thing because and also the fact that he was on the nod for a lot of that shit.
Yeah.
And so
was he? I don't even know that.
He was strung out, like the rest of them. But I start to feel that, because they're dudes that are either going to get lost in the shit because they just get lost in the shit, or it's facilitated by dope. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it happened.
Yeah. Well, certainly. Look, we all know. The heroin is a soul-sucking, will steal all of your juice and leave you a fucking mess for the rest of your life.
Yes.
But they're like anything. There's a reason why people kill themselves for it.
Yeah, well, there's a relationship with it that, is never going to end well. But sometimes, at the beginning and for a few years.
Yeah, hey, and look, don't do heroin, kids. But, they had that living in that bubble, blocking everything else out, completely lost in the music where nothing else exists in the planet.
Yes.
Graded. It would be better to get there by doing your Zen meditation and stuff.
Yeah.
But we can't pretend like that didn't aid you at certain times.
Sure. But. So you're listening to that today, and you hear something new every time.
Every time.
But when you were a kid, even though that was your inspiration, you didn't pursue it.
Well, no, I did. As a youngster, I wanted just to be a jazz trumpet player.
Yeah.
And I was a little wild. I probably didn't practice enough and stuff, but I had a natural thing. I'm a trumpet.
You did.
I could make a beautiful sound. And just when I was kind of getting to the point where I would have started ramping up because I would have gone somewhere to just work on that.
Yeah.
Right at that point, I met Hillel Slovak with Anthony. We became best friends.
So you met him after Anthony?
After Anthony. I met Anthony when I was 15, and I think when we were 16, we were out hitchhiking in North Hollywood one day, and Hillel came driving by in his Datsun B210 listening to Rush.
I had a B210.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Was it olive green?
In my first, no, it was kind of weird shit brown.
I know that color. Yeah.
It was my first car.
It was the only car any of us had ever like, whoa, he's got a car and a tape deck, and he's fucking cranking La Via Strangiata, and picked us up, and we became best friends. And then, months later, he was in a rock band, called Anthem in high school, and he didn't like the bass player. And months later, he was like, why don't you learn to play the bass and play? And I had kind of I didn't like rock music at all. Because I just thought, look, rock music is for dumb people.
Yeah.
Let's face it. It's for people who care about haircuts more than music.
But did you get that from your stepdad?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All the way. You know what I mean? And when I was little, I didn't. At first, it was just all music. Charlie Parker, the Beatles, it was music.
Right, sure.
It was just beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'd gone that, and I was a trumpet player, and you know what I mean?
And you're 15.
I'm 15,
16,
yeah. But then I started going to, go by his rehearsals. They were playing in the friends' house. God, they just do it with no teachers around, and they play stuff, and they're really having fun. They act cool. And
were the girls hanging around?
Yeah, there's girls that like the band and stuff. And he was like, look, Todd, the bass player, Todd Strassman, he was like, dude, Todd's not serious about it. Doesn't really want to do this. He's not ready to give his life to it. We're 15. And he's like, why don't you learn to play the bass and be in a band? And I remember just sitting there like feeling so, more than anything, loved.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah, because I was always kind of weird outcast kid. I'd have one best friend, and that was it.
That was Anthony?
It was Anthony, yeah. But I was like that in New York, too, when I was a kid.
Well, that's a weird thing about, growing up around the sickness of whatever selfishness that parents are like, is that, there's an awkwardness to it. You always feel, I always felt kind of awkward and weird, and you just latch onto people in an overcommitted way. It was really always exhausting, I think, to be my friend. The one friend.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Right?
And it's like, then you get older and you just marry.
I know.
Yeah, hey.
Latch on.
And then you don't know what to do once you're there. Then you're like, don't touch me, though.
Yeah, exactly. And then you exhaust them and they go away.
Yeah, and you deal with your trauma, you know what I mean? And hopefully you feel it enough to evolve through it,
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
that could take a lifetime.
Dude, yeah, talk to me.
Yeah.
So
you're there with so you found your guys.
So yeah, and so I started playing bass with Hillel, and
but would you just pick up bass? I
literally just picked it up. 2 weeks later, I was on stage at Gazzari's on the Sunset Strip playing a gig.
With who's
2 weeks later?
Whose bass? Your dad?
I got one.
Oh, you just bought one?
I borrowed one. I think the first one I borrowed one from my friend Tree, who I started the music school with.
Yeah.
His father had a bass. His father played in Sha Na Na.
Oh, yeah.
Sang in like a later version of Sha Na Na, like the Bowser spot or whatever. And had a bass, or a guild bass, and I'm pretty sure that was the first one. And I just kind of went by the numbers. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Hey there, baby! Yeah. Have you heard the news? Yeah. The One-Way Woman. I don't know if I jams. One-Way Woman.
Yeah.
And that was it, man. And then that changed my life.
And you stayed on the bass.
I stayed on the bass. But so I didn't go into being a jazz trumpet player at that point.
Yeah. So and that was the beginning of it. So you were almost entirely self-taught in that way.
Yeah, absolutely on the bass. Never had a lesson. Had one lesson.
With who?
A guy at this music school in Fairfax. I went in, and I remember he gave me the sheet music to Take It Easy by the Eagles. And it was like, I want you to learn this. And I just didn't do it. I didn't like, and when I started liking rock music, I just went right to, like, Hendrix that was it. I like Hendrix.
Did Hillel tell you on to Hendrix?
Uh-huh.
Because, what I was going to say, at the beginning of all this was that there was something about, specifically for me, for some reason, that the song, was it Behind the Sun? Mm-hmm. Behind the Sun.
Do you do?
Yeah. Those riffs.
That's a Hillel riff.
I know. So, but I feel that there's some spirit of that goes all the way through, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
because there's the funky stuff, but then it feels like all the sort of the stuff that's more psychedelic or more kind of lyrical in that way musically. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It kind of comes from that
totally.
Dude.
Like look, when John joined the Chili Peppers, he was 17 years old. We're like 8-9 years older than John, the rest of us, and he had seen the Chili Peppers numerous times as like a 15-year-old or 14-year-old, 16. I can't remember, right in there, and he loved it, and he loved Hillel, Yeah. And Chili Peppers became his favorite band, and and then we met him, and he was just this unbelievably, like, we couldn't even believe like how capable he was, and how focused and diligent and hard working.
Now, what happens with all that? I mean, because I know there was a lot of people coming in and out of bands. You were in other bands. You played with Fear for a while, in between, before the Chili Peppers.
Yeah, I left. Anthem changed its name to What Is This? And then we were the New Originals. Yeah. And then Anthem changed its name to What Is This?
Yeah.
And then it became like more new wave, kind of prog rock. Because
what year is that? I mean,
that's like 1981.
Then punk is sort of happening.
Punk
still?
is happening, and we were like decidedly not punk. We were like prog rock.
And you're in LA.
But I started loving punk a lot.
Because this is where it happened.
Yeah, this is where it happened.
And you were a kid in the middle of it?
Yes. And then I was like, and then I one night I saw Fear play. I dosed myself with a hit of acid, went to the Club Lingerie, saw Fear play, and was blown away. I mean, they were such great musicians, those guys.
Yeah.
Philo and Spit. And I saw them play, and I was just like, man, next day I was like, I saw the greatest show. You wouldn't even believe it. The way the guy's hands dance on the strings, like the drums. He was playing his beat in 5/4 on oil cans. It was insane. You know what I mean? And then literally like 5 days later, I'm looking at the LA Weekly like I did every day to see who's playing and where am I going that night, because I went out every single night to see bands play. And I see a thing, Fear looking for a new bass player.
Get out of here.
And I went, hello? I'll be there. Yeah. And they hired me. And I was a kid. I was 18, 19.
So you're learning on the job.
Yeah, but I'd already kind of got proficient at the bass, playing What Is This, and they hired me, and I left What Is This and started playing with them, and I was with them for about a year, and while I was with them, started the Chili Peppers.
Now, who are the bands that you're seeing all the time? How is your brain expanding around? Because all the LA punk bands are happening.
Yeah, I saw every single one of them.
Yeah, and you knew them?
Sometimes I wasn't, I knew some.
Who did you
Later, when Chili Peppers started, I started knowing people.
Who did you go to see the most? Like, who were the ones where you're like, you can't fucking miss it?
X.
Oh, yeah.
I loved X. I still love X.
Nobody sounds like them, dude. They do not get the credit they deserve.
It's really a local phenomenon, and it's sad because the first 3 records...
Oh, my God.
The first 3 records are phenomenal records. And, like, I was seeing this thing the other day, like, it was on Sports Talk Radio. I listen to Sports Talk Radio. And they're talking about what record is the most L.A. record of all time. And, they got the Doors, they got NWA, they got Dr. Dre, they got, and I'm just sitting there in a car going, the greatest L.A. music of all time is X.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And that's no denying the greatness of Dr. Dre or the Doors or Jim Morrison. Like, those guys are great.
Right.
I love those records.
Right.
But from my experience, for me walking down the street as a kid with nothing in my pocket, thinking how I'm going to steal some food, it was X.
Yeah. Yeah. I listened to those first few records recently, and the thing about it is, it's like they're this strange kind of specifically American music that they wrenched out of the ether on their own, and nothing sounds like it.
And the lyrics are so poetic.
Yeah, those harmonies, dude.
The way they sing together. And everyone always made fun of Exene's voice. Like, I remember, like, what? Yeah. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And her, like, John Doe with, like, a classic tenor. Like, the two of them together, those harmonies, the way it went, so
I just
great.
saw them like 6 months ago.
No, man, I haven't seen them in a long time.
I saw them in Orange County. We went to an outdoor thing, in the middle of COVID, me and my friend Dan. Yeah. And they were great. Right. They played with the Blasters.
Who played guitar? Oh, Billy Zoom's playing Rex.
Yeah. He just sits down.
Right.
He sits down and smiles.
Man, he's incredible.
Amazing.
And I saw them play the Star everywhere they played. I saw them constantly. But, I would see everyone that played. That's the ones that I saw the most. Like, if I could get in, I went.
Yeah.
It was always a hustle to get in,
But X wasn't really, would you call it, because there was weirder, looser, more raw punk going on.
Yeah. I mean, like all the bands like Youth Brigade and Channel 3 and Red Scare and... Black Flag. I never saw the Germs. I never saw the Weirdos. Well, later I saw the Weirdos. But like at that time when I came in, it was kind of late. Like that first wave of LA punk. Yeah. Like the great bands like the Germs, the Weirdos,
they're
the
gone.
Screamers.
That's the 70s?
They were already done.
Right. Right.
But then when the Chili Peppers started, and we started, like from the get-go, we became in a very underground way popular in Los Angeles in 1983. Then I became, got to know a lot of those people and was really happy about it. You know?
So what were, like, let's go over these shifts in the lineup over the years. So when did you finally end up on the lineup that sort of lasted with Chad on drum? Like, you had other drummers, right?
Okay, so we start off, it's me, Anthony, Hillel, and Jack. Yeah. Play our first ever show, no rehearsal, go play one song. We had one song, we played one song. Yeah. Went crazy, had a spiritual awakening, the whole universe, like, zeitgeisted together into this thing. And we knew it. Yeah. And then at that point, that became the focus of my life. Right. So that we had that. Then, before we made our first record, Jack and Hillel were still playing in What Is This, the band that I left, the high school band. Yeah. They both left. Yeah. We got Cliff Martinez on drums, who had played in the Weirdos, the Dickies, and Captain Beefheart. Yeah. And Jack Sherman on guitar, who was... And
it's still you and Anthony.
And me and Anthony. Always me and Anthony. Yeah. And then we made the first record with them. And we went and did the first tour, first record, second record. Hillel wanted to come back. So we said goodbye to Jack Sherman. We brought Hillel back.
How much drama with all these?
Every time drama. Every time I say one of those things, it's like me up, like dry heaving for days, puking with stress. Yeah. And even when I really knew it was the right thing to do. Yeah. Always. Yeah. Hard, man. Yeah. Someone, you play with someone, it's like vulnerable, connected experience. Yeah. Even when you're really struggling with them. Yeah. It is, because you're always yearning and reaching for this thing, Yeah. But so then we make the second record, Freaky Styley, with Cliff Martinez on drums and Hillel. Yeah. After that was with George Clinton in Detroit at United Sound. Yeah. Wild time. Yeah. And then I went and lived with George for months on end, and it was just wild. And the first night, I'm sleeping. George lived at a farm in Clinton, Michigan. Yeah. I'm lying there. I'm asleep at night. And, I'm like Dr. Frankenstein's house, sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag, In the morning, like crack of dawn, I hear like like a gun. I'm like, what the fuck? I look up, I see George in his underwear. He has his own colored braids and shit, up with a gun, running for the outside.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my fucking God, what's going on? And he was going out to shoot a deer. He saw a deer, and he was into hunting, eating wild game.
Yeah.
But, it was just wild.
Did
man.
he get it?
I don't know. I can't remember. But he was hunting. He was really into hunting and eating.
In his underwear in the morning.
He saw one, and he was like, I'm going to go get that motherfucker.
Yeah.
He was up.
Yeah.
Okay. So then make Freaky Styley. We tore Freaky Styley. Then after that, Jack wanted to come back. Hillel leaves. Jack comes back.
Yeah.
So we have the original lineup. I mean, Cliff leaves.
Yeah.
Jack comes back.
Yeah.
Cliff went on to have a great career making soundtracks to all the Steven Soderbergh films. Oscar nominee, great, awesome dude, and he's a great. I love Cliff. So then we have the original lineup back for the third album, and then after the third album, which is Uplift Mofo Party Plan, with that lineup, we go do on tour. We get back. Hillel overdosed and died.
Now, how bad was everybody strung out?
Mostly like Hillel and Anthony went back and forth between being strung out.
Yeah, but that wasn't your bag, that drug?
I mean, it was. I just never got strung out. I like this stuff. I never, something in me always stopped me from going all the way. I do heroin all the time. I did it, but I was always and I'd wake up the next day and feel too shitty to play basketball or do the stuff that I love to do.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it again.
Sweaty and queasy.
Yeah, but then 10 days later, I'd be like, never again. And then 10 days later, I'd be drunk out of the bar and someone would give me a line of blow, and the next thing you know, I'd do it again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think once I did it 2 days in a row.
Oh, really? So you really could just chip?
I chipped.
Yeah.
So Hillel died, and that was devastating.
I can't imagine.
Absolutely fucking devastating.
How old was he? 22?
Fuck, man. 26, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, and a beautiful guy. I still have these paintings he made and stuff that he gave me for my birthday. He made these beautiful paintings, Mark. He so sensitive and gorgeous. I have this one of this like a naked woman lying on a blanket with a cat curled up by her hips, and he just did this all the time. He was just this beautiful guy.
That's so sad, man.
Yeah, just the torturedness of the pain that makes kids. We didn't know yet.
Yeah.
It's didn't get to that point of figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we lost Hillel.
Yeah.
Which was hard for all of us. And Jack, who had started playing music on the exact same day as Hillel, when they were kids, and after they had a Kiss cover band where they dressed up like Kiss.
Yeah.
Jack was heartbroken and left the band. Just couldn't
handle it.
Too much.
Did he quit music?
No, he ended up being a drummer in Pearl Jam, and he played with Joe Strummer.
Okay.
And he did stuff.
Still around?
Yeah, still around.
Yeah.
Still around, still my friend. Actually, on our last tour, for our last record, he toured with us as a one-man act, one-man show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just makes these crazy psychedelic movies behind him, plays drums and just tapes. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a wild man.
Okay.
Yeah. Jack Irons. And then we go to make Mother's Milk. First, we got Chad.
Where'd you get him? Because he seems like,
Oh, no, before we got Chad, we had D.H. Peligro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know D.H.
Yeah, D.H. who played him in Dead Kennedys.
Yeah.
And then we hired on guitar Blackbird McKnight from Funkadelic.
Wow.
Who was a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And so we had D.H. and
That's interesting, huh?
Yeah. And it just didn't... The reference points and stuff just didn't work out. Just for whatever chemistry stuff, and so
on the musical side,
So then Blackbird left, and while we had Blackbird, then I met John, and I was like, damn. I remember calling up Anthony. He was drying out up in Michigan.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I met this kid. I jammed DH. Said, you should come jam with my friend John. This kid. He can fucking rip.
DH introduced you?
Yeah. DH introduced me. They had been jamming. And I went and jammed with John, and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
This kid is good.
Yeah.
Scintillating.
Yeah.
And not just show-offy, even though he was a kid, but damn,
Yeah.
And,
all strats, right?
Yes. At the time, he didn't play a Strat. He had some, I don't know what it was. It had naked ladies all over it. Some kind of modern, kind of guitar. And I called Anthony, and then Anthony came back, and then John, Thelonious Monster, picked him up, our friends, Bob.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah.
He played with Thelonious Monster, Bob, and Pete. And then Anthony saw him play with Monster and was like, we got to get that kid. And I was like, right?
Yeah.
And so we let go of Blackbird. We got John, and then we did a little tour with John and DH. And then DH, bless his heart, was dealing with some substance abuse shit, and it was just not working out. And so we met Chad, who called Denise Zoom because she was married to Billy Zoom of X for some time.
Yeah.
Told us, I know a guy who eats drums for breakfast.
Yeah.
And that was Chad.
Yeah.
And we met Chad.
He seems like he eats drums for breakfast.
Yeah, and he does eat drums for breakfast. We met Chad, and then we made Mother's Milk with Michael Beinhorn, who had also produced Uplift Mofo Party Plan, who we liked because he was in Material, the band with Bill Laswell that we really liked a lot.
And Mother's Milk was the first big record, right?
Yeah. And we hadn't really connected. Like, I feel like John hadn't really come into his own yet. He was still trying to fit in as opposed to just like letting his magic fly. But we made a record, and we did a cover of Stevie Wonder's Higher Ground that got us our first like. Who
taught you how to do that if you didn't take any lessons?
I just did it, man.
You learned how to slap that shit by yourself?
Just did it on my own.
No one said like this. Just do.
No one ever showed me. I remember seeing this kid at Fairfax High named Ray.
Yeah.
And when I was playing an Anthem at school, we were like the white rock band.
Yeah.
There was a black funk band called Star.
Yeah.
And there was like the two bands at school.
Yeah.
And Ray played in Star. And I saw Ray one time at lunchtime sitting there with a bass thumping.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, because Halal had just taught me you go like that, like you're walking with your fingers.
Yeah.
And that was all I knew, walk.
Yeah. To play.
And I saw him stopping, and I just saw him do it, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck is that? And he kind of showed me.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And then like a year or so later, I just tried to figure it out, and it kind of made my own way.
Yeah,
I still do it my own weird way, different than other people do it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Popping and thumping, man.
Yeah.
Popping and thumping.
That must have been exciting.
Yeah, it was really fun. And when I started, like, it was right before we did when the Chili Peppers got together, I just kind of found this way of doing it that was really my own way.
Yeah.
And it was like all those early Chili Pepper songs, Black Eyed Blonde, Get Up and Jump, Skinny Sweaty Man, all these real fast, like a drum,
Yeah.
It was like that funky thing, but with punk rock energy that I loved,
Yeah, right.
And just, that's when we found this sound.
So with different drummers, I mean, the rhythm section is the rhythm section, but you got on with DH.
Love DH.
Yeah.
I love
as a rhythm section. So with Chad, did you guys just lock in?
Yeah.
Or did you learn from each other?
We learned from each other. At first with Chad, I was a little worried because he was a real rock dude. Like super rock, like John Bonham school. He hit the drums harder and more steady and more ferociously with more chops than anyone I'd ever played with.
Right.
Like a fucking monster.
No jazz, though.
Well, it wasn't, I don't know if a jazz thing. And he knew like Detroit funk, 'cause he was a Detroit dude.
So he could swing.
He could swing and he had groove.
Yeah.
We just had like our arty thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was saying before, we were really into like D-funk.
Yeah.
And the contortions.
Right.
And Gang of Four. Echo and the Bunnymen. Susie and the Banshees. Like, we like this arty kind of music.
Right.
Bill Laswell, like Robert Fripp.
Fripp.
You know what I mean? Like the League
Fripp,
of...
not Crimson Fripp, but Fripp.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it. But Chad had played in like hair metal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was incredible. But thing is, the ferocity with which he played was undeniable.
It's like some sort of serendipitous miracle.
It was.
Because you have these different forces. But the alchemy of it made you the modern Chili Peppers.
Absolutely. And he bought us, in a way, like in his power and his sensibility, bought us from something that probably would have been less open to the whole world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he opened it up with the big open beats.
Well, that's the drums, man. It's like, I talked to Billy Gibbons, and, because those records later, the bearded ZZ Top records, which aren't my favorite, I'm like, how'd that happen? And he said, our manager said, girls can't dance to this shit that you're doing.
Right.
So figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's where you get
and
that.
Drummers, too, like, look at the Clash without Topper Headon.
Uh-huh.
I love the fucking Clash, dude. One of my favorite rock bands of all time.
Yeah.
But without Topper Headon, when they get the other dude, it's just not as good.
Yeah.
Look at REM. You know what I mean? Like,
drummers are very important.
It's like so important, and we've been lucky to have great ones, like really lucky. Jack Irons a great drummer. Cliff Martinez, nothing like him.
Yeah, because I listened to when they reissued that Get Your Yayas Out, that Stones record. It was an Abco reissue, and I'd never really realized just without Bill and Charlie, that band just falls apart.
Right.
Dude.
All of a sudden, you have these guys that are really good. You know what I mean? Like they go and get really good musicians who do their job well.
Yeah.
Like great guys.
Yeah.
And they might have, but it's not like someone just being themselves. Like the thing about a lot of these guys is what they do is all they know how to do.
That's
so
good,
they don't
though.
know it, and that's great. That's what that's what makes the thing work. It's like you do your thing. Like yeah.
Yeah.
The restraint is a powerful and underappreciated thing in music. But restraint by circumstance. Like
right,
you can't do anything else.
That's right. Restraint just by virtue of the fact this is all I do.
You found a thing.
And you put all yourself into it.
The depth of your nervous system, your heart, your pain, your joy, your fucking trauma, all of it.
Right. Well, that's rock and roll, man.
Yeah, dude.
Because
it's jazz too.
And punk and all of it.
And Stravinsky.
I guess, but then you start getting more, because guys who can do everything, guys who are virtuosos, a lot of times they're too good.
Yeah, but sometimes there are guys who are virtuosos who are still
simple.
Not a matter of simple or complicated,
right? But
are able to still be themselves and be themselves and not they're humble enough and believe enough in their aesthetic and
that's true. Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
The belief in their aesthetic is a good point, because a lot of times if you have natural virtuosity, you're compelled to mimicry.
Yeah,
like you can do anything.
Exactly. Like you look at Duke Ellington.
Yeah,
the guy changed his whole career. He could do everything.
Right.
You ever hear a Duke Ellington record that didn't sound like Duke Ellington?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's just because he's himself so much and trusts himself and is close to his spirit and his heart. He's not just fucking...
It's making sure that gets out. And I think a lot of guys who are talented and even amazing don't always get it out.
Yeah.
They don't always... You can't... And sometimes the simplest players... It's sort of so fucking honest, because they're putting everything they can into the range that they work in.
Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Like Family Man, like those like reggae stuff.
Right? A lot of those old blues dudes. It's like the guys who built the thing.
Lightning Hopkins.
Yeah, man.
Come on, dude.
And nothing sounds like that guy.
No.
And you can't even play like that.
No, nobody can.
That's
Captain
wild.
Beefheart.
Beefheart's, yeah. Captain Beefheart and Howlin' Wolf. Yeah. Hey, Beefheart's, I've been listening to a lot of Zappa, dude. I don't even know why.
I need to, because I don't, like, I love Beefheart, especially like Trout Mask Replica kind of changed my life in a way.
Yeah.
But I don't know Zappa that well. The only record I've ever listened to a lot is the Hot Rats.
Yeah.
And what's the one?
Sugarcane Harris on violin.
Sugarcane, awesome. Remember one time being at a party and he dropped a fucking bindle of heroin out of his pocket on the floor.
Sugarcane?
Saw it, picked that shit up.
Could have picked it up.
Picked it up. I can't remember. I can't remember. I hope we gave it back to him.
Hey, drugs. Drug time's different.
When
drugs are involved,
the ethos is a whole. It's a whole
ethos is
thing.
different. Drug ethos. But listening to, I don't know why, but it was just a couple of weeks ago where I'm like, I'm gonna go through the Zappa catalog when I hike. So I've been doing it, like the first 5 albums, and by the time you get to Apostrophe, I'm like, holy fuck! Like I had to stop myself from emailing Dweezil to say, what kind of guitar is your dad playing on Apostrophe? I know he'll know, and he probably has the guitar, but what difference does it make?
I got to get into it. I'm kind of uneducated on that front.
Well, there's a lot there, and it's intimidating, but it's its own thing, and it's very clean and very interesting and very, multi-layered. But, I mean, I'm not like a Zappa nerd, but for some reason, sometimes I'm like, I think I'm ready.
Yeah, but it's great to be like, man,
it'll open
I just
you
like
up.
so much music,
Sure.
know.
So the evolution then. So why so many ins and outs with John?
Because John is an intense guy who lives in the moment of his feelings, and when he gets to a point where he needs to evolve in a way and he knows it, and he can't do it in the band, he goes.
Oh, okay.
Basically, I mean, that's the simplest way I can put it.
Yeah.
And I don't feel right to speak for him, but I know, you know how a lot of people will say they don't care about being famous?
Yeah.
Like they just care about art.
Yeah.
But then they keep doing everything they can to be famous. Like John literally doesn't give a fuck about being famous.
Yeah.
And
how about the rest of you?
Look, hey, I like to make a buck as much as the next guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I'm a Hollywood kid, you know. I mean, I don't spend my life trying to be famous. My thing on it is this, and that's a good question because I'd like for me to be honest about, because that's hard for me to really know. I know that whatever degree of fame I have or don't have, the thing that's crucial to me is that everything comes from an organic place. That if you make something beautiful, you make a beautiful piece of art, you do something that's good things will come from it. And part of that is respect from your peers and from people who care about art and stuff.
Right. And it's interesting that you say you're a Hollywood kid because, the difference there is that you guys became, sort of fixtures here, right? And people knew you, and you're in all these different scenes, and everyone's coming up. So all of a sudden, you're acting in movies. People want to put you in movies to to do some version of yourself because you are a thing.
And I love movies. That's the thing is like I don't act in movies to be famous.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, I'm not against being famous.
But you're not going out for auditions. People ask you to be in movies, right?
And I love movies.
Yeah.
I love acting.
Yeah.
Like, and especially like the last 10 years, like a few things happened that made me take it very seriously.
Oh, yeah?
Like the craft of it.
Yeah, like which things?
Well, particularly, I did this one underground, called Lowdown with John Hawkes, Elle Fanning, and this woman I met who's the same age as me, named Amy Albany. Her father was Joe Albany. He was a great jazz pianist, played with Charlie Parker, Mingus, great dude. Come to 70s, like me, same age as me. She was living in Hollywood. Her dad, who was a brilliant jazz bebop pianist, was strung out on dope. They're living in like a crackhead hooker apartment on Hollywood and Western, one of those buildings right there in Hollywood and Western. And, here's this guy she admired who's her everything, who loves her more than anything. This brilliant guy is a fucking disaster, heroin addict, mess. You know what I mean? Yeah. And she wrote a memoir about it, and a movie was made about it.
Okay.
And so I get the script. I'm like, this is my fucking story. I couldn't even believe it. Like I was shaking and crying reading it.
Yeah.
And then and it was about like what I grew up in.
Yeah.
And here I am playing one of these jazz guys. Like John Hawkes played the main guy. Her dad, I played the friend, the junkie friend. Uh-huh. And I was like, I got to honor this. I can't just show up and wing it and be Flea.
Right.
So I went out and got an acting coach. I started studying acting. And a guy named Peter Lewis, who's incredible. Ed Norton turned me on to him, and he's a brilliant fucking man. Yeah. And he just started teaching me, and I started really taking the craft seriously. And the thing I learned more than anything, like I don't know all these techniques, smarten up an object. Stella Adler always said that, whatever, all these things that are great. Write a journal as a character for months and months and months before. Like all this stuff.
You do that?
I do that. I take it damn fucking serious now. And
well, what did he teach you? What were you going to say?
But the thing that he taught me more than anything was, or that I learned, I don't think he specifically taught me, that as a musician, I do all my scales, I do all my stuff, I do my study, I do my practice, I do my work. But there comes a time when all that matters is getting gone. You know what I mean? Like all that matters is like when I'm at my best.
Showing up to be the present.
Yeah, just let go. Hopefully you can channel the spirits, live in a place beyond thought where you're fucking channeling the great fucking gods of the galaxy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're just like, you've done the work where if that wave chooses to come through you, you let it come. Get the fuck out the way.
Right.
And I learned that can happen in acting. I didn't know that.
Right.
And so I learned how to do all the work and get to a place where you fucking let it go and let that happen. And a lot of it has to do with learning what to do what is the preparation? What is the work? What is the stuff? And so since then I've taken it really seriously,
That's great.
Yeah. So anyways, that
sounds like, that a lot of that work, like why'd you get sober?
Well, I'm not entirely sober. I'm not on a program.
Oh, okay.
But I am pretty much mostly sober.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, once in a blue moon, I'll drink like a half a beer.
Yeah.
Or take a hit off a joint or something. But like blue moon, I'm just not. I stopped doing drugs entirely when I turned about 30 years old. Everything.
I guess you see enough people die and get strung out.
Everyone was dying, getting strung out. But more than that, I remember having a talk with someone once, and I was talking about being a dad, and my daughter was about, 4 years old or something, and I would get high when I was away from her or whatever and think, I don't do it when I'm around her or whatever. Yeah. And I remember, and they said, all that matters as a parent is to be present for your kid and be communicative. Yeah. And you have to be communicating with them when you're not around them. Huh. You have to be, it's like being in a state where you're always there for them. Like your spirit is always available whenever they need you. And that really resonated with me. And I love my kids so much. And I was just like, I got to be there. And I was tortured enough on my own. Like, I spent so much of my life, like, riddled with panic attacks and anxiety. And
that's from growing up in chaos.
From growing up in chaos and, like, not knowing how to be in a relationship and hurting myself, hurting other people.
Yeah.
I just, I didn't want to do it anymore. And I knew, and I started getting like vague little hints of spirituality and stuff. And I knew that, like I'd read books. Yeah. I got a yoga teacher, you know what I mean? And I got sick. I got real sick. I got chronic fatigue and stuff. All this stuff happened to me. And I was just like.
Did you kick it?
Yeah, I did. I did. And at that point I was like, I want to feel everything. I need to feel the pain. I'm never going to run from it again.
So what's your practice?
My practice now, like right now, I'm meditating. I pray. I'm not religious, but I pray every morning. I get out of bed. I practice. I pray every time I eat food. I pray.
What kind of meditating?
I do TM mostly. I also learned this Vipassana. I went to these Vipassana meditation retreats, learn that technique.
And that works for you?
Yeah, it helps me. It's not always easy. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's damn right painful. But
in what way?
That I just have to, like, parts of myself come up, fear and anxiety that, you know what I mean? Like, in a deep way. Like I'll be sitting there and all of a sudden I'll be overwhelmed with, like, shaking, sweating.
Really?
Yeah, like, just this pain. It's like this icy fucking grip grabbing a hold of me. Like, I'm going to take you down to the bottomless pits of hell. Like, that kind of feeling.
Like a fear and anxiety?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, triggered by some little thought that I don't even know what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but I know that when I feel it, I start to have more of an understanding. And I start to understand, okay.
You integrate it.
I integrate it, and I'm not going to let it run my life.
Right.
Like, I'm going to feel it. And yes, I'm in fucking pain today, but I'm not going to let it make me go make some ridiculous decision in my life that's not good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Feel the pain, carry it around. Like I'm Flea walking around and I'm in pain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, how you doing? How can I help? you know what I mean?
That's the thing. You do help, right? So you set up the school too. I mean, service is a big part of your thing.
Big part of my thing, and it got really amplified during the pandemic too in a really cool way.
How?
Well, just like when the pandemic hit, I loved it, right? Yeah. Like,
no one's doing nothing.
Living up in my compound in Malibu, dude. I'm like,
is that where you're at?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't have to go. I don't live there anymore. I actually moved because I got married and things got different. But I was like, man, all of a sudden I didn't have to go on tour.
Yeah.
And the real lockdown, we stopped rehearsing. You know what I mean? It was like,
right.
And I never have that kind of time. Yeah. And I was like, man, I'm going to go shoot hoops today. Yeah. I'm going to go get in the ocean. I'm just going to practice bass for 6 hours.
Yeah.
The fuck you think about that, world?
Yeah.
I'm going to go in the garage and make crazy noises because I feel like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was just so great. And then I started thinking, damn, it's all nice for me because I got the money to, like, roll through this. And I started thinking about people who were really struggling because they didn't have work, they didn't have, people who live day to day all of a sudden completely fucked. And so I got an idea to bring a food truck to, like, poor parts of LA.
Yeah.
And just whatever I could do something with my time and what I can help. And then I found some people, an organization in Watts that was doing groceries giveaways, and I hooked up with them. I said, hey, I'll bring a food truck. And then I just got really involved in that community, and being a part of that, met all these awesome people. I made friends and started building bridges and making friends with people whose experience so much different than mine, right down the street, man.
Yeah.
Like, people who are just, like, it's crazy the things you learn when you get into a place and listen,
Yeah.
Like the way, like, white supremacy and systemic racism really works.
Yeah.
Like how it really affects people, you know what I mean? And making friends on there. And I just got really involved and continue to be involved in community work there. And that makes me really happy.
That's great.
Well, really great. So that part of, and the school, and we're starting a music school there as well. Like I'm doing a bunch of stuff, but we're starting the Watts Conservatory of Music as well.
No kidding.
And, it's been kind of, I hate to talk about it because we haven't taught one fucking lesson yet.
Right.
But
you're working on it.
They're working on it, yeah.
And the other school's kicking, are you guys back in it?
Yeah, back into full effect. Yeah,
that's great,
yeah, we know, because we teach like 800 kids a week, man. You know, he's in orchestra and choir, and it's like I meet so many kids now. We've been together 20 years. I come in, like I run into an adult, and I'll be like, hey, you know, I went to your school for 5 years when I was a kid, and it really changed my life.
Oh, that's...
You know what I mean? Like I met all my friends there, and we all became friends, and we started weird bands, and we did this and that, and now, you know, now I'm I make teacups, whatever the fuck, but...
Right. But the birth of their creativity and community.
Or whether or not it's just a cool thing for they to do.
Sure,
for some people, they might go be a musician for the rest of their lives.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. It could be anything.
It's been really nice, and you've been a great help for that, being a part of the fundraisers.
Oh, thank
and
you.
stuff. So
thank you. It's always fraught with me. I'm always nervous. And I always get angry and weird. But it's hard to wrangle a dinner crew of rich people to
it's
focus.
Fucked. I get it. You know, all you got to do is go up there, get an amp, and go jump around and dive onto your face.
It's like I always have big plans when I host it, but I get up there, I'm like, what the listen to me.
I know.
I feel yelling at Mo Aston, who's 100.
I love Mo. But so anyways.
What about Navarro? You guys still friends or what?
Yeah, I'd never see him.
Sure, but like, how did that, did you like that version?
I think it had really good moments. There were times when it was great, and when it worked, it worked, and when it didn't work, it really didn't work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, just like chemistry-wise, and and drugs came into the picture in a way that were just like untenable.
You guys have like just sort of hammered through it. You know, like it's amazing that that you and Anthony are alive.
Yeah, you know
what I mean? It's like Jesus. It's a long time, dude.
And the crazy thing is, like, at least for me, like Anthony, I'm sure, has a different take on it than me. I never think about, like, well, we're going to keep going no matter what. Or like, I never have thoughts about, well, next year we're going to be doing this. Or it's just kind of like, it always just kind of makes sense to keep doing it.
Well, I mean, look, man, everyone seems to. If you can, they do. Like, you guys really make big new records. So you got to take that shit out there.
I think it's, it might be that thing of us being, well, for the most part, completely sober. I'm probably the only one. And I am basically sober.
Yeah.
Like,
I get it.
Like in my home life, like put it this, my wife has never tasted alcohol in her whole life.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's how we are in my house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we feel everything, and by feeling everything, we always show up and we're like, let's get to work. And we never rest on our laurels. It's never this thing of like, oh, well, I'm going to be in the Caribbean, eating papayas and sitting on a beach.
Sure.
It's like, no, we're going to be in a room every day arguing about whether the bridge should be 8 bars or 12 bars.
Yeah.
And whether this or that, and still jamming till we find a groove where we're fucking drooling and lost in love with each other.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, in a way, and I'm just kind of thinking of this now, like John leaving us and coming back and us having to continue like focus and reinvent, and every time we have to work to birth this thing again. It might save us because we're forced to keep working.
Do you find do things evolve or change? I mean, like, like when John comes back, is it sort of like, he's in a different place now?
He's in a different place. He's been through a whole journey making these records by himself. These like deeply into like the sonics of his electronic music and the records
shit.
that he makes. Trippy shit. He's deep into it. Like deep. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't do shallow. Frusciante don't do shallow. Yeah. And we've been growing and changing and doing our thing, like living. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so we get back together and it's like, here's our guy. Like, we don't get to do this forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's make the most beautiful thing we can. Let's show up for each other every day.
And these are big records, 2 records, right?
Yeah, and that's a little bit of it.
Huh?
This is a small pice of it.
There's more?
We recorded a lot.
How many songs?
Mark. A lot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what's the plan?
I can't really talk about it.
Oh, you got one, though?
Kind of.
Okay.
Loosely. We do and we don't. But we recorded a lot of music, and we thought that these songs would go together and make a really good double album.
Okay. Yep. And are you guys looking to tour?
We're absolutely looking to tour. The record comes out on, I think, April 1st.
Right.
And we're going to do some shows around that. And then come June, we're starting a full-on world tour. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, you seem ready.
Yeah, I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
It's good to talk to you.
We have work to do and stuff. Yeah, thanks, Mark. Great to talk to you always.